Welcome to ECTV Live. I'm Rusty Fender. David has the day off today, and joining us, a recurring guest on the program and a good friend, Martin Hennahan of the Forever
Rusty?
Sammy organization.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
It's good to be seen, and thank you so much for having us.
Well, thanks for being here, and bring us up to date, Martin, on the goings-on since we last spoke on the show.
Okay, well, the last time that we were here, we were discussing our Christmas clothing drive that was really successful. We had a large volume of people from different organizations as well, too, kind of collaborate with us and go out, and so it was a really successful Christmas clothing drive. We also did an educational panel up at the Kaiser Valley Community Center, in which we had a panel of some professionals that deal with substance abuse or recognize substance use disorder in their daily activities, come up and kind of shed some light on some of the things that may be evolving right now as far as different drugs, different things that kids might be experimenting with, to educate the families to be aware of.
You're a promotional machine, you know that? I see you everywhere. And the squeaky wheel gets the attention. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, I think that, you know, the slogan that we started with in the beginning, Stop the Whispers, was completely accurate. A lot of times some people will ask, you know, why are we so well received? And I say, well, we're grounded in kindness and truth, I like to believe. And a lot of people they're getting fed up with the evasive answers that they're getting from some of the politicians, some of the different insurance companies, some of the different places. And so it's refreshing to them when they hear a voice just simply speak their truth. Some agree and some don't agree, and you know, everybody's entitled to that. But we'll just continue to push on and try to do the best we can to help save some kids and some families from experiencing the tragedy that we did.
Your crusade, of course, is never ending. It never will. No one's is.
Correct.
And you look at every year as a brand new starting point, a brand new pickup point to carry on with new information and new goals and new hopes.
Right.
You ever wake up in the morning and just say, another year, here we go again? But it's probably not, though, because this is such a labor of love, obviously. Mm-hmm. And every single minute of time you put in is for the cause, isn't it?
It is. It really is. I mean, there's times where sometimes we can get a little discouraged and a little frustrated.
Exactly.
And there's some obstacles that are put in our way. But I have a really good core group of guys around me that encourage me and inspire me on a daily basis to just push on. And so the obstacles then become opportunities. And opportunities for me to show those that are struggling that should they run into any obstacles in their recovery, because I'm also in recovery myself, that it doesn't have to be an obstacle. It could be an opportunity to show that recovery does work. And in spite of anything that we face in our lives, we do not have to resort back to those old behaviors of drinking and using.
As you're recovering, you ever get the urge to fall back again into that lifestyle? Does it ever go away?
I don't think that I have the urge or ever will have the urge to go back to that old lifestyle. I think what it is it's a euphoric recall. See, I remember when I was younger and I was having a couple beers and it was fun back in the woods at the keg party. But at the end of it, it wasn't so fun. I was going to places that I never wanted to go. I was doing things I never had any intention on doing, and I was hurting the people that I loved the most. And so it's important for me that you say play the tape through. So it's important for me to remember the end of it, where it ultimately ended at. I think sometimes, as an alcoholic, sometimes I have euphoric recall where I remember how fun it was in the beginning, and then I hit the pause button in my brain. And I think that I can recapture that, and that's a lie. And so I'm pretty aware of the lies that sometimes my brain will tell me.
I know as a kid, I didn't know much about alcoholism. My mother and father didn't drink. I don't drink alcohol. And you tend to think of things in the early days as, you know, boy, what a loser. How can somebody succumb to something like a beverage or something? But it's an illness. And you learn that later on. It's a serious illness. And then you think back on, boy, how wrong I was and how I overjudged the folks who had no control over this. It's a serious illness. It's not something that, it's not some wanton disuse or abuse that you want to get into.
Right.
It's a serious illness.
It really is. I mean, you know, the stigma, which is I think what you're kind of alluding to, is that, you know, that was born in me through others. And I'll just share in a general way that I had an older brother who also suffered, I believe, with alcoholism, and he did something one night. I think he took my father's car and he smashed it. And so my father obviously was upset with him, and he made the comment, you know, not realizing that his 8-year-old son was sitting there listening. He was just mad, and so he said, you know, no good drunk. And so my mind immediately recognized drunks are no good. And so that stigma I carry with me subconsciously. I didn't know it. So to think that I could, or we could stop the stigma, it'd be a monumental task. It's kind of like, you know, turning the Titanic. It's not going to turn around on a dime. But the good news is I think the ships are starting to turn. Whether or not I'll be here when the stigma is completely eradicated, I don't know. But I think that we just want to continue to push on and let those know that are struggling know that they don't have to continue that lifestyle, that they don't have to continue that behavior, they don't have to continue to visit places that they didn't want to go, such as the jails and the institutions. And obviously, you know, it is completely unnecessary. They don't have to have a loved one bury them prematurely.
So for those who haven't joined us before, speaking with Martin Hennehan of Forever Sammy, tell us about Sammy. Bring us up to date, and you know,
Sure.
from the beginning right to now, and then we'll talk about what you have going on.
Sure. Well, Samantha was me and my wife Stacy's firstborn, and she was a ham and a princess and a social butterfly ever since day one. She was very affluent in her speaking. She was really engaging, and she could really captivate you with not just her physical demeanor, but her friendliness. Her soul kind of had this shine to it. A lot of people's do, and she did not lack in that area. As she got into her teens, again, as I said, I suffered with substance use disorder myself, and so I was not as attentive or as available as a father as I would like to be.
Tuned in.
I was going to places like I said, I was going to
your own
places.
journey you were on.
Sure,
Yeah.
but my wife was very hands-on, and she was fantastic. And as she got into her teens, she started to experiment with alcohol, and of
Probably
course,
a peer thing.
and it very possibly so, yeah. You know, but as she did that, you know, of course, the hope as a parent is that, well, this is just a phase that they're going through. Maybe they'll grow out of this. As she progressed into her later teens, Stacy started to find some things like different pills that kids share at schools and stuff like that. And so she addressed it. And what she did was she made sure that she got her placed in an inpatient adolescent treatment facility. She came home, and I believe she drank again, and my wife was quickly on it and immediately returned her again in a short period of time. And the second time that she was there, she got it. Something clicked. She realized that that lifestyle wasn't something that she wanted to continue down. And she got sober at the age of 17, and she remained sober for about 3 years. And in that short 3-year period of her sobriety, she had recreated herself to being she was a personal banker for a Fortune 500 company. You know, at 21 years old, she had a gold nameplate on her door, and she did all of that without any higher education or any college degree, because she was that approachable. She just had that type of personality where even this Fortune 500 company said, we're going to take a chance on this kid. And it ended up being in their favor, because she ended up being coming in third top banker of Pennsylvania in 2013.
The world ahead of you.
Yeah, and so obviously, you know, I was proud. My wife was proud. And at some point in time, you know, she made that decision where she bought into that lie of how much fun it was in the beginning and forgot what it was like at the end. And so she decided that she was going to recreationally have a couple drinks. And for me, that's never the case. There's never no end in sight for that. And so she started to use more and more lethal substances. And then on April 10th of 2016, me and my wife had gotten an anonymous text message that she wasn't answering her phone. And the caller told us of her location, and we went to the hotel and found her deceased from an accidental drug overdose.
I can't imagine the sadness at that point. I can't imagine.
Well, it was like the atomic bomb landed on my house, and I didn't sleep for a few days, obviously. My wife had experienced the most traumatic thing that I think any grieving mother or parent can experience.
And it's not the fact of the shock at that second, it's the fact of the shock you're thinking, what did I miss here? What did I miss here that caused this?
Sure.
That's the real shock.
Sure. And yeah, there's a lot of different emotions that come through with the grief. There's the guilt, there's the shame, the would've, could've, should'ves, and wondering what did I do wrong. But at the end of it all, I think it boils down to how do we continue to carry Sammy's message in the most kind, ethical, and transparent way to help another family. Because when Samantha was sober, that's all she wanted to do was just help people. That was her entire mission. She was always wanting to do this. As a matter of fact, our Christmas clothing drive, it was started because of, as we were driving over the bridge, there was black smoke billowing out, and I called Pat DeSarno, the fire chief, and I said, what is all that? And he said, it's the homeless people down there. They're burning their tents. They're catching them on fire, trying to stay warm at night. And my wife had mentioned Sammy wanted to do a clothing drive, and that's how that started. So we just continue to try to do whatever we can is necessary to help any family members, whether they have already experienced the grief and the loss, to build the support system here, or if they're in fear of that, going to their living room and speaking to them and their child, or going and speaking anywhere in any capacity. We said in the onset of this whole thing that, you know, as long as there's gas in my car, I will go, and we have up to this point.
You know, it's funny, I just returned from vacation, as I was telling you before the show, from the famous haunted Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado. You know, the Stephen King wrote The Shining there and the whole deal. And we love Colorado. We're out there usually like 30 years or so. The marijuana state. It's amazing that this interview would come up after I returned from there. And now that everything is legal out there, marijuana everywhere. Marijuana at the 7-Eleven, marijuana at the Chevron station, marijuana at Jack in the Box. It's just, it's amazing. And you know, I'm on the fence about the legalization of that. I've never used marijuana. I'm so square sometimes I'm almost round back again. And you know, on one hand I say, man, I don't think we're really ready for the total legalization of non-medical but entertainment, you know, recreational marijuana. And on the other hand, I see the point in taking the big crime money out of this deal too, and helping states along who are way under in the red and all that. What's your take now on, you know, I think back to a mere 20 years ago when people caught with illegal drugs would be doing jail time. Now you don't even get a ticket in some states. It's amazing. If I were those people, if I were one of those people who were incarcerated back then, I'd be pretty mad that all of a sudden in 20 years now, you don't even get a ticket, and I had to do jail time in a cell with 5 other people for that. What's your take on that? Similar?
Well, the medical marijuana, or the marijuana, recreational marijuana, such as Colorado, I really focus on harm reduction. I am not a hardline or an extremist when it comes to medications such as the medical assisted treatment, such as the Suboxone, the Vivitrol, things of that nature. And I kind of look at what is the least harmful thing right now. And to be honest, right now, I think that the regulation that the federal government can give to the marijuana is less harmful than having our children, who are going to smoke one way or the other,
Right.
than have our children buy it off of Billy on the corner.
Absolutely.
And not know, because unfortunately these kids are lacing their marijuana with fentanyl even nowadays. And for anybody listening, if you have a son or a daughter and you allow your child to smoke, which is totally your position, and I do not judge or debate that, but if you go into the room after they smoke and you smell popcorn, I would suggest that you tell your son or daughter to get rid of that marijuana, because that is one of the major symptoms of fentanyl-laced marijuana. If anybody out there smokes and they're smoking something and it starts to smell like popcorn, there's a strong likelihood that it's laced with fentanyl. And if it was legalized, I think that that would be removed. That threat would be removed.
I agree.
And so, you know, there's going to be pros and cons to everything.
You take the money out of it, you take the crime out of it, you take the fear out of it.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, and as far as medical purposes, I know that it has a lot of medical.
And so do I.
You know,
it's amazing that
yeah.
people will stand by this 1,000%. It's truly amazing the results they say it has.
Yeah, so I try to stay somewhat neutral in it, and the reason is because my opinion, in $1.85 will get you a small coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. But I do have one, and I see some values in it. So,
now, what do you have coming up in the future now?
well, coming up in just a couple weeks on July 14th, we are going to be doing and holding the 4th annual Forever Sammy Addiction Awareness Rally.
4 years already.
Yeah,
Wow.
4 years. And as of last year, we have become the largest addiction awareness rally of its kind in the state of Pennsylvania.
The footage I saw on the news stations last year was absolutely overwhelming. It looked like stock footage of some event in some top 10 city.
Yeah.
It was truly unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, the weather was good, but I mean, the following was just simply astronomical. You couldn't pray for something any better than that.
Well, you know, we believe that people reach out to us sometimes, and when they reach out, it's a distress signal. Obviously, it's an SOS. And for some reason, we came up with the saying, well, we respond with our own SOS. We respond with the spirit of Sammy. When she was sober, she always just wanted to be helpful. She wanted to be, and people receive that well. And, you know, we're humbled and honored to just be able to take part in it. And that's obviously always held in the second week of July every year, because Samantha's birthday was July 16th. So, you know, to the public, they may think that I'm promoting an addiction awareness rally, but to me, I'm just a dad getting ready for my daughter's birthday party.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Give us the details on the event. Where, when, times.
Okay, so July 14th from 3 to 7 p.m. at the Lackawanna County Courthouse Square in downtown Scranton. There will be treatment providers there in case anybody may be struggling or know of somebody that's struggling and would like to come down and get some resources. You could also hear the stories of some of the survivors. We also have Lilo Bricado from A Bronx Tale. He's going to be our guest speaker this year. We will have a free kid zone. There will be bouncy houses, carnival games, free prizes, and none of it will cost a penny. Every child will receive a prize. Every kid will have an unlimited amount of time. We'll have a dunk tank. Maybe we can get Rusty to get in the dunk tank for an hour.
No, I don't think so. I can't swim, Martin. I'll take some other point, but not a real good swimmer.
But we also have a very inexpensive food area. Hot dogs, hamburgers, everything is $1. We understand. I tell people I'm 100 there. I couldn't afford to bring my family down and have a bite to eat at an event if it was $4 a hot dog or whatever it is, the inflated price there. So we really just want to make it accessible and available for everybody in the community. Last year we had over 8,000. We're hoping that this year we can, mirror that. And yeah, I think it's a great opportunity, and it should be a really good time. We'll have raffle baskets. We're also accepting raffle baskets in case of anyone who may have lost a loved one. We do a memorial raffle basket where their loved one is mentioned, and because nobody is forgotten about. Because the truth is I do this in the spirit of Sammy, and my wife does it in the spirit of Sammy. Some of my friends and Sammy's friends do it in the spirit of Sammy. But we recognize that everybody has a Sammy. Everybody has somebody that they know that they think, boy, they were a really good person, and for whatever reason, they died unexpectedly, and I wish they didn't. So, come on down.
I think Sammy would be proud of
I
this
like to
entire, this entire journey upon her sadness. I think she'd be extremely proud. And
Well,
feel to carry her name on. You know?
Yeah, I do. I got to be honest. I am extremely proud of the citizens of Northeast Pennsylvania. The reception, their kindness, their compassion, their understanding, their tolerance, and even so, when some people may not quite understand it, they're still kind. They still express the kindness and support.
And you're not the only event. That's the thing. The people of northeastern and central Pennsylvania, they partake in a lot of different simultaneous things. You look at the news every weekend.
Yeah.
There's 100 walks, there's 100 runs, there's decathlons, there's all types of public service and charity. You're not the only one. You have to spread this among a lot of folks, and still everybody seems to get a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing.
Yeah, it is a great thing. Like I said, we're so happy that to live in Northeast Pennsylvania. It's really a kind area, and you know, the nice thing about it is it's one of the nicest things that I've seen is at our first rally, there was this woman, and she was retired and on a fixed income, and she insisted on giving us a donation of $10. And I said, oh, I can't accept that. And she said, you can't not accept this. And I was like, wow. And that's the core moral value that Northeast Pennsylvania has that I don't think you could find any place else on the planet, to be honest.
It is. And with the anniversary of the Agnes flood this past weekend, June 23rd, they coined the term and all the banners back then, Valley with a Heart. It still lives true. It really does.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. That's great. So, so if anybody is interested in any more information, they can follow us on Facebook at Forever Sammy Foundation. Our email address is foreversammy, SAMMI, 23@gmail.com. And they can also contact me via phone or text at 570-906-0889.
You must have a following now of all the folks who supply things like the bouncy houses and all the props that go along. So you must have a good following now in your fourth year. So those folks are really receptive to coming along and doing this every year, I would take it.
Yeah, they are. We get a large volume of volunteers because we're grassroots. We get no state funding, any of that
Absolutely.
stuff. So all of our sponsorship and our monetary donations come through just kind, compassionate companies and businesses and facilities in the area. And the volunteers that come out to help us set up is amazing. We're never short of walking down the street. Many times throughout since its inception, I've just randomly gone places and walked into a room and seen a pink Forever Sammy shirt, and it warms my heart to see that. So, yeah, as long as people will continue to allow us to be a part of the community, we will continue to do what we need to do.
You can't turn on any media and not see the opioid addiction, in this area. It's massive, isn't it? This came out of nowhere about 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah,
Amazing,
it really,
isn't
it really is. I mean, I think that, however, people would like to put it on different pharmaceutical companies, and I believe they absolutely played their part.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
But the fentanyl that people are talking about right now is not the fentanyl from the pharmaceutical companies.
Exactly.
It's like a bathtub fentanyl being made in back rooms in China.
The pharmaceutical companies, again, although they do exhibit some guilt, they are taking the rap on a lot of unjust publicity for this as well, as you know.
Yeah, and I understand. Some people say, well, they got this whole ball started with the opioids, and I say, well,
they kind of. Yeah.
I said, I could, like I said, I understand they own a part.
That's right.
But there's other things, and we believe it's not important to find out who's to blame. It's how do we fix this? What can we do to fix this? Because I firmly believe that it's what we seek is what we find. So if I'm seeking to blame somebody, I will always find that. However, if I seek a solution with other people who are seeking a solution as well, I can find that too.
So one more time, times, dates, places, July 14th?
Sure, July 14th at the Lackawanna County Courthouse Square in downtown Scranton from 3 to 7 p.m. The Forever Sammy Foundation will be hosting its 4th annual Addiction Awareness Rally with the free kids zone, food area, bouncy houses, dunk tanks, treatment providers will be available. There'll also be a couple non-food vendors there with arts and crafts in regards to the recovering community. And we hope that everybody can come down and support us, and more importantly, support the recovering community that is the solution to this opioid epidemic that we're plagued with.
We'll never forget, Sammy.
Never.
And it won't cost you an arm and a leg at the event either. That's the
Right.
good thing. Family
That's right.
friendly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Come on down and just enjoy.
And Facebook?
Facebook, we are at Forever Sammy Foundation, and our email address is foreversammy, that's SAMMI, 23@gmail.com.
Martin Hennahan, always great to see you, my friend.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for having us
Absolutely.
again.
Thanks for being here, as a matter of fact. David will be back next week. Mark McGlory, our technical guru. Seems like forever, Mark. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for keeping us on the air. Until next week, Rusty Fender, wishing you a great week. All is here at ECTV Live.